Okay, so let me summarize where we are and where we're going. So first, we're moving towards this idea of daily diagnostics. And we're doing this by putting viruses to work doing what they do best. Viruses are exquisite at binding to specific proteins. They'll avoid binding to everything else. If we can harness that ability, then we'll have half of the equation for daily diagnostics solved. And what we really want to do is get towards daily data by monitoring, say, saliva or urine. And what we've done so far is incorporate our viruses directly into electronic sensors and demonstrated that this concept actually could work. So what this has taught us are the rules for directly linking biological function, the ability to recognize cancer-associated proteins, directly into electronics. And this is, I think, has turned out to be very important. Okay, now more specifically, what I hope I've convinced you of today is that viruses, while not exactly our friends, can be thought of as our allies. Okay, we can actually put them to use doing useful things. I've already shown you how we can use viruses to get better protein binders. And this is important for things like pharmaceuticals. I've also shown you how we're using viruses in devices that could potentially diagnose cancer someday. And in our laboratory, we routinely use viruses and these large collections of molecules to discover things like new catalysts for chemical reactions or chemical reactions that haven't been seen previously. This is one of the ways that we reach into our big collection of lottery tickets and hope to win. Okay, so what we're doing here is capturing this power of evolution to solve practical problems, to actually go out and solve problems like cancer diagnosis or chemical fundamentals. Okay, so I need to do a couple of important things. First, I want to invite you to join us. Okay, this is a major, major endeavor. And all of you who are here today are invited to join us in this undertaking. By the way, this down here is a picture of a cross-section of the harmless virus, the harmless filamentous bacteriophage that our laboratory studies. And it turns out in some prior work that I did on this virus many years ago, I found that the virus is stitched together by dovetail joints. There's thousands of copies of a coat protein along the surface of the virus like fish scales. And all those fish scales are held together by dovetail joints. And the way I see projects in my laboratory is we're basically bringing together lots and lots of people who solve little bits of the problem. And you too can be part of this. Okay, so first, one way that you can get involved is simply supporting the School of Physical Sciences at UC Irvine. And I know by the fact that you're here today, you're on board with that, and I really appreciate that. Dean Heminger and the rest of the school appreciates that as well. Okay, the other way you can help is you can either directly support the Weiss laboratory at UC Irvine, and we actually have mechanisms to take tax-deductible contributions. You can be part of the team. In addition, we're looking for angel investors who are interested in partnering with Molecular Express, the company that's actually licensed and is developing this technology. Okay, and I have a proposal on this. What I propose is you don't have to believe me that this is actually working. Instead, you can believe peer review. So we're currently funded to do these experiments by a phase 1 small business innovation research grant. And eventually, we're going to go for phase 2, probably in about half a year or so. Getting phase 2 is enormously competitive. We're going to be reviewed by scientists, anonymous scientists, who are going to be blisteringly critical about every aspect of of our proposed work. So if we can't deliver what we're promising to deliver, if we can't hit our milestones, they're going to tell us that. So basically, you can hedge your bet. If they say we can't do it, then we don't want your money. But if they say we do it, if we can do this, this gives you a way of joining the team. So we're actually looking for angel investors who would like to match our SBIR phase 2 grant. And specifically, this is going to be on the range of $750K to $2 million. And that will buy you a seat at the table. You'll actually get an equity stake or royalty percentage, whatever you want. Okay? Anyway, it's a proposal. Okay, finally, I need to thank all the people on the team who made this work possible. And I'm very, very grateful that this School of Physical Sciences is very supportive of the type of research I've told you about. This type of interdisciplinary research is not possible without collaborations amongst many faculty. And in my laboratory, I'm really lucky to collaborate with outstanding people here at UC Irvine and at other universities. So I didn't tell you about this today, but we've been driving this bioelectronics interface down to a single molecule level by collaboration with Phil Collins, Professor Phil Collins, who's a physics professor here at UC Irvine, and he's in the audience. He could tell you more about that. But we've been really interested in applying what we're learning at the macro scale and applying that down to a single molecule level in the physics laboratory of Professor Phil Collins. And I've been telling you today about work that's been done in collaboration with Professor Reg Penner in this biosensors for disease and sort of the macro to nano scale regime. But we're also interested in developing systems that will leverage the ability to tether biological molecules into electronic circuits at a really big scale, a square meter scale, where we interface electrodes with anaerobic organisms as a way of extracting electrons from the anaerobic organisms for biopower application. So this is on an unimaginably large scale. It's actually the square meter scale, where you can imagine nets on the seafloor capturing the electrons that anaerobic microbes are dumping out there as a way of powering small little electric devices. And this is a collaboration with Peter Gerges, who's a professor at Harvard University. Okay, now the most important acknowledgements, though, are the people who actually do this work. I've been telling you work that's been driven forward by Philip Tam, a former graduate student in the laboratory, now again at Sangamo. And then this was work that was then picked up by Juan Diaz, who just graduated from UC Irvine with a doctorate. He's now a postdoctoral fellow at UC San Francisco. More recently, the project has been taken up by Jessica Arter, who's here in the audience today, who's been working on this project in collaboration, again, with people in the Penner Laboratory. Now, all the work I told you about today has fortunately been picked up for funding by the National Institutes of Health and the National Science Foundation. And I'm really grateful to all of you in the audience who are taxpayers who support those important institutions, which are drivers of innovation and help us train students that then go out and start companies. But I want to highlight one important source of funding that early on was absolutely critical to the work I told you about. So I'll take you back about 5 years ago. About 5 years ago, my laboratory was completely new. I was just getting started as a faculty member, and no one believed I can do what I said I was going to do. And it was impossible. It was really, really tough for me to get funding. And the laboratory was about to hit the skids. Okay, I mean, literally, we were running on fumes funding-wise. So I was really fortunate to receive an award from the School of Physical Sciences Innovation Fund, which was made possible by an anonymous donor who may or may not be here today. That person I want to thank individually because they made possible everything I've told you about. If my lab folded up, I would just head back to industry, and none of what I told you about would probably take place. Okay? It's simply too long an event horizon for industry to imagine going out and doing. It just takes way too long to do these sorts of difficult projects. But you can do them at places like UC Irvine, and you can do them thanks to that anonymous donor who bridged a really challenging part of my career. So I'm really grateful to that person. Thank you. And thank you all of you for coming out today. It's been a great pleasure. Thanks.